A simple fisherman wins true love and redemption over jealousy and deceit. In the quiet village of Mwamba along the coastline of Kenya, people lived simple lives. The men fished, the women wove baskets, and the elders told stories under the shade of the great baobab tree. One of those men was Baraka, a humble fisherman whose life revolved around his small boat, a pile of old nets, and a deep love for the sea. Baraka's only dream was to catch enough fish each day to feed himself, his mother, and one day, a wife, if he ever found the courage to speak to a woman. Baraka was quiet, but he had a heart full of dreams. And like every good story, his world was about to be turned upside down by love. Her name was Pendo, and she was not just any woman. Pendo was the daughter of Chief Nguzo, the most important man in Mwamba, a chief who always wore a serious face and a temper to match. Pendo, however, was nothing like her father. She was as gentle as a soft breeze and as beautiful as the sunset over the Indian Ocean. But of course there was one problem, Juma. Juma, the chief's nephew, was as tough as the coconut shells that littered the beach and twice as bitter. He was determined to marry Pendo off to the wealthiest man he could find, someone who could bring the family more cattle, land, and respect. And to Juma, Baraka was nothing more than a fish-smelling pauper with no future. One sunny afternoon, Baraka gathered his courage and decided to approach Pendo at the marketplace. She stood by a stall, helping the basket weavers. The sun shone on her skin, making it glow like gold. His heart pounded in his chest, louder than the waves crashing on the shore. He stepped forward, but before he could even say hello, he tripped over a basket of yams and landed face first into a pile of ripe bananas. The entire market roared with laughter. Baraka scrambled to his feet, his face flushed with embarrassment. But Pendo's laughter was soft and kind, like the chiming of bells. She stepped forward, her smile melting his nerves. "Are you all right, Baraka?" she asked, wiping a banana peel off his shoulder. Baraka, feeling like a fool, could only nod. I meant to do that," he mumbled. Pendo giggled, and for a moment, it felt like the entire world had faded away. Baraka knew then that his heart was lost to her. Word spread quickly that the shy fisherman had his eyes on Pendo. By the time Juma heard, it had become a full-blown scandal. His face turned as red as a Masai shuka when he heard the news. "A fisherman? Pendo is being courted by a fisherman?" Juma stormed into Chief's father's hut that evening, nearly knocking over a jug of sour milk in his fury. Chief Nguso, who was enjoying his evening porridge, looked up lazily. "Love doesn't always follow the rules, Juma." "Rules? He has no money, no land, nothing," Juma fumed. "Pendo deserves better. We'll be the laughingstock of Mwamba." Nguso sighed, not in the mood for the nephew's dramatics. "It's her life. If she loves him, who are we to stop it?" But Juma wasn't going to let this happen. "Father, if we let this fisherman marry cousin Pendo, we might as well hand over our family's honor with his next catch of yellowfin tuna." Nguzo waved him off. "Enough. I will speak to Baraka tomorrow, but don't do anything foolish, Juma." Of course, Juma already had a plan brewing. That night, Juma crept through the village to the home of Mama Shubiri, an old widow known for her sharp tongue and sharper schemes. She was often referred to as Bibi, meaning a respected older woman in the village, which is ironic given rumors about her association with black magic. Mama Shubiri was once in love with Chief Nguzo many years ago, but he had chosen someone else. Her bitterness was legendary. "I need your help," Juma said as he entered Mama Shubiri's small, dimly lit hut. Mama Shubiri leaned in, her eyes gleaming with mischief. "Let me guess. You want to rid yourself of the fisherman?" Juma nodded. "He's a threat to my family's honor. We need to make sure he never sees Pendo again." Mama Shubiri smiled a thin, wicked smile. Leave it to me." Therefore, like a stubborn coconut that refuses to fall, trouble was lurking high above. Mama Shubiri, the village's unknown notorious witch, was anything but content. People believed she had dark powers, but no one had proof, since her hut was in a secluded part of the village, and she would mostly be seen in the dead of the night crisscrossing the village. Years ago, she had fancied herself as the one who should have been standing next to Chief Nguzo as his wife. But instead, another woman had taken that spot and given birth to Pendo, the village's beloved daughter. Bibi's bitterness festered for years, and her only solace became stirring her cauldron and cackling darkly to herself about the unfairness of life. It was believed that she inherited the dark powers from her grandmother who was long gone. She was believed to be vengeful and was always looking for an opportunity to destroy what was good in Mwamba, especially anything associated with Chief Nguzo, whom, in her mind, was her destined lover who never was. To make matters worse, Baraka, a mere fisherman, had managed to win Pendo's heart, and there were whispers in the wind about the possibility of him becoming Chief Nguzo's son-in-law. Mama Shubiri couldn't stand it. Not only had she lost her chance with the chief, but now this nobody of a fisherman might get everything she ever wanted. Her frustration, however, was not just about Baraka's rise. There was Juma, the chief's nephew, who had long been groomed to take over the throne once the time came. Juma was a slick character, always charming the elders, showing off his hunting skills and strutting through the village like a peacock with too many feathers. But what most people didn't know was Juma's secret association with Mama Shubiri. He frequently visited her hut, not for love potions but for something darker, charms to make him appear more worthy of the throne than he actually was. Juma had no real talents beyond being good at faking it, and Bibi's spells had made him seem stronger, braver, and smarter than he truly was. The thought of Baraka potentially overshadowing him set Juma on edge, so he struck a secret deal with Mama Shubiri. He promised her a position of influence once he became chief, so long as she helped him eliminate Baraka as competition. And so, they plotted. The snakes and the scheme. Mama Shubiri, with her dark magic, summoned 3 black mambas, venomous and sly serpents from the underworld. These weren't ordinary snakes. They carried a bit of Bibi's malevolence in every hiss. One night, under the cover of darkness, she slithered through the village like a shadow, making her way to Baraka's humble hut. She placed the snakes in his bed, knowing full well that by morning, chaos would erupt. The plan was simple. Once the villagers saw the snakes, they would think Baraka was cursed, or worse, a wizard in league with dark magic. They'd exile him, and with Baraka gone, Juma's path to the throne would be clear. Everything seemed to be going according to plan until the sun came up. Thank you for following the story to this point. Please subscribe. The Snake Awakening. At dawn, Baraka woke up feeling unusually warm, his blanket oddly lumpy. He stretched lazily, unaware of the danger lying beneath. As he tossed the blanket aside, his eyes locked on not 1, not 2, but 3 coiled black mambas, hissing as if they had just been rudely woken from a deep sleep. Nga! Baraka shrieked, leaping out of bed with a speed he never knew he possessed. In his panic, he knocked over his table, scattered his fishing gear across the floor, and ran out of his hut in nothing but his underwear, flailing his arms as if he were warding off a ghost. Villagers, startled by the commotion, came rushing to the scene. They found Baraka dancing in the middle of the village square, still in his undergarments, yelling about snakes. At first, some thought he had simply had too much palm wine the night before. But then, someone dared to peek inside his hut. And sure enough, there were the 3 massive snakes, their black scales glistening in the early morning light. A collective gasp spread through the crowd. Elder Makasi, the village's oldest and wisest man, or at least he thought so, stepped forward. He took one look at the snakes, and shook his head gravely. This is no ordinary incident. These snakes do not belong in a man's bed unless he has angered the spirits. This is a sign of dark magic. The murmurs began immediately. Could it be true? One woman whispered. Could Baraka be a wizard? Baraka, still out of breath and trying to cover his modesty, shook his head wildly. I'm not a wizard. I don't even know how to spell magic, let alone use it. But the seeds of doubt were already sown. People began backing away from him, whispering among themselves about how Baraka had always been a little too lucky with his fishing, or how he had won Pendo's heart too easily. Juma and Bibi's triumph. Juma, watching from the edge of the crowd, smirked. Everything was falling into place. With Baraka's reputation in tatters, there was no way the chief would ever let him near Pendo again, let alone allow him to become part of the family. And when the time came, Juma would be the natural choice to take over as chief, just as Mama Shubiri had promised. Mama Shubiri, hiding in the shadows, cackled quietly to herself. She loved a good bit of chaos, especially when she was the one stirring the pot. Baraka would soon be exiled, Juma would be on the fast track to becoming chief, and Bibi would finally have a taste of the power she craved. But as they say in Mwamba, a snake's tail always comes back to bite you, especially if you're playing with dark magic. The snake unravels. While Baraka faced isolation, Pendo refused to believe the nonsense being spread about him. She had known Baraka all her life. He was a good man, honest and kind, and definitely too clumsy to pull off being a wizard. Determined to find the truth, Pendo began her own investigation. Late one night, she snuck into Mama Shubiri's hut, where she had heard odd things were always brewing. What she discovered was more than she had bargained for. There, in a dusty corner, Pendo found a small jar with the same markings that had been seen on the snakes. Mama Shubiri's symbol for controlling spirits. Pendo's heart raced. It was Mama Shubiri who had summoned the snakes. But Pendo wasn't content with just confronting Bibi herself. She needed proof. So the next day, when Juma swaggered into the village square, bragging about his noble lineage and how he was destined to be chief, Pendo approached him. With a mischievous grin, she said, Juma, did you know that Bibi's snakes have the same markings as your favorite charm? It's almost as if they were sent by someone close to you. Juma's face went pale and he stammered, What are you saying? Pendo smiled sweetly, but her eyes were full of fire. I'm saying that I know everything, Juma. About the snakes, about Bibi, about how you've been using dark magic to get ahead. Juma's knees wobbled. But before he could finish, the entire village, which had gathered to listen, gasped in unison. Elder Makasi stepped forward, his voice booming with authority. Juma, is this true? Have you been using dark magic with Mama Shubiri? Juma, cornered and panicking, looked around wildly. No, it's not true. I swear. But it was too late. The villagers had already connected the dots, and the once proud Juma found himself staring down a crowd of angry faces. The redemption of Baraka. With the truth out, Baraka's name was cleared. The villagers, who had been so quick to condemn him, now fell over themselves, apologizing. I knew it couldn't be you, Baraka, one villager said. I mean, you barely know how to tie a fishing knot, let alone perform dark magic. Baraka, still dazed from everything that had happened, could only laugh. I guess I should have known better than to let snakes into my bed, he joked. Chief Nguzo, now fully aware of Juma's deceit, declared that Juma would never be chief. Instead, the title would be passed to the next worthy candidate, someone with honor, integrity, and no association with witches. As for Mama Shubiri, she was banished from the village, her cackling voice disappearing into the winds forever. With his reputation restored, Baraka and Pendo were finally free to be together. The village held a grand celebration in their honor, with plenty of fish, palm wine, and laughter. As Baraka danced with Pendo under the moonlight, he couldn't help but grin. "Looks like I'm not cursed after all," he said, winking at her. Pendo laughed, leaning into him. "No, you're just a very lucky man." And as the music played and the village rejoiced, Baraka knew that despite the snakes, the gossip, and the dark magic, love had triumphed. And there wasn't a spell in the world that could take that away. The lessons. The story of Mama Shubiri, Baraka, Juma, and Pendo teaches us several valuable lessons. Jealousy and greed can lead to betrayal and suffering, but truth eventually prevails. Mama Shubiri's wickedness harmed innocent lives, yet in the end, her lies were revealed, and Baraka's innocence was restored. This mirrors how lies and manipulation in real life can cause deep harm, but are often short-lived compared to the power of truth. How often do we judge others based on rumors or appearances? Are we quick to trust without questioning motives? When faced with injustice, do we fight for the truth or accept falsehoods? Tell me what you think in the comments below, as I will be following. Please also subscribe to support this channel so that it can continue to inspire positivity.